Have. Yep. Yep. 0 people right now. We'll leave the. We'll pull up the public chat for the Q&A.
Okay. Should I put up my... Oh, oops.
All right. I guess we just wait till people get here because there's no point in like actually start like talking about anything till people get on, right?
Yeah. Let me see if it's...
Are we gonna actually? Oh, somebody just popped in.
Whoa.
Mekon 502. They must be a Louisville native. 502. Um,
I gotta double check where... That's... Wow.
dang, that was fast. We got 5 comments already. Oh, 16 people. Wow. Are we gonna post this as a podcast as well?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
What's the podcast gonna be called? Just Lunchbox Live?
I was thinking... Yeah, Lunchbox Live sounds good. I was gonna do like in the box, but I...
In the box.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. We'll have to vote on it. We'll put out a poll.
Or what's in the box? I don't know. What's for lunch?
What's for lunch?
Oh, we'll have to save this question for
We already
probably
got a
the
question.
end.
We already got a question. All right. Well, should we just jump right in?
Yeah, people can join, and I don't know
Oh.
how many.
I guess
People
502
will
isn't
be-
the area. 502 is also the area code for the phone number that I live in, but he says he's from the Netherlands. It's ironic.
Alan, this is mentorship meeting. So originally this was an email got sent out to all of the riders who we weren't able to take on the Lunchbox team, but we still want to provide them with some knowledge. And I don't know if you could call it mentorship just because it's, over a video chat, but hopefully they're able to watch this video, join in the chat, send in questions, and we can help them with their like lunch or not lunchbox life, but like privateer life. So I made not a pitch deck, a slideshow that I will share. And yeah, Drew and I will hop in. Don't be afraid to ask any questions. So,
Nice.
okay.
What are like the main topics for today? Like, we're just going to talk about sponsor relationships, like brand relationships, ways that me and Chase have found success through that, and try to like help younger people to navigate that realm.
Yeah, so this one will be just an overview of what it's like to be a privateer and some tips of how to make it, how Drew and I started out, and also talking a little bit about being on a gravel team instead of a privateer, which I think Drew and I, Lunchbox, is about half and half. A little bit of privateer, a little bit of team. So, okay. Introduction. Drew, you can introduce yourself first. Just, yeah, if people don't know who you are,
Sure.
let them, yeah.
Yeah, they're on my YouTube channel. So, yeah, I'm Drew Dillman. Been racing bikes since I was about 10 years old, just here in Kentucky doing the mountain bike series around here. Got involved with a junior team when I was about 15 years old called Red Zone Cycling. That propelled me into cyclocross and road racing. I was focused on cyclocross for most of my racing career up until pretty much COVID. And then I had a lot of really good support through that. Probably the best, most memorable team that I was on was with Amanda Nauman, Sheik, and Dave Sheik. They supported me. They were the ones that actually introduced me to gravel when they took me to the, then it was called the Land Run, but now it's called the Mid-South. That was my first ever gravel race. And so then COVID happened, and so that kind of put a stop on cyclocross, and I was without a team or sponsors. And so then coming out of COVID, I transitioned to crit racing with the Texas Roadhouse cycling team. And then I was also doing a privateer cyclocross program for myself. And then I actually, 1 year of that was also a cyclocross team where I sponsored a junior rider and a female rider. Actually, two female riders and a junior rider, and it was the four of us for the whole cyclocross season. And then broke my wrist racing crits, and then I was already on the fence about maybe switching to gravel, and this was like 3 years ago. And then after the broken wrist, I did the full switch to gravel and pretty much went all in on that, thinking that there was probably more opportunity in gravel and that it would suit me a bit more physiologically because I'm not built like a crit racer. And so now I've been in the gravel scene for the last 3 years and have gone pretty much all in on the gravel stuff now. Don't even race cyclocross or crits anymore. Wish I could, but yeah, all of my focus is on gravel right now. I think that's where the heart is and where the sponsors are. So, yep, that's where I am now. I live in Kentucky. I got a beautiful wife and two beautiful daughters, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. No pets or anything, just here in Kentucky. I'm a Christian. Try to be bold and outspoken about my faith. I do some podcasts called the Bonk Bros and the Matchbox, and then do these YouTube videos as well. I think that's it for the most part.
So, a very busy man. My name's Chase. My background story, I guess, would be started road racing. I'm from Minnesota, Winona, Minnesota, so grew up doing the Minnesota stuff. I raced nationals when I was a junior, 18 years old, and I got dropped on a downhill 5 miles into the race. So that's my story. And then I raced collegiately for the U of M. Had a little bit of success there with a second place in the team time trial and a few top tens at nationals in the collegiate crit. Other than that, I've always kind of considered myself just average, I guess, for when I was growing up. Kept with racing through COVID, and then at that time I also started picking up race directing, put on a few cyclocross races at my parents', and then that led to gravel, event promotion, and coaching, and then quit my job in 2023 to pursue bike racing full time, and then started Lunchbox with Drew this year. Also became a dad this year. Married my wife in 2024. I'm also a Christian.
You didn't marry your wife in 2024.
2023. Dang, it's been... Sorry. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. I don't know. As self-proclaimed aero dork. So, yep. I don't have any podcasts. I just put on 4 gravel events: the Daycross Minnesota, the Filthy 50, Granny's Gravel Grinder, and the Hot Dish.
And you're like Minnesota's hero.
There's not too many strong people coming out of Minnesota. They're all going to a different state nowadays. So, okay, starting out. So, why choose to be a privateer over joining a gravel team? And gravel teams are becoming more popular especially this season. So we'll break down kind of the pros and cons of each. Drew, if you want to give the pros of being on a bike team, especially something like Texas Roadhouse, you can go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, that was like the pros of being on a team, especially a crit team, is like you just show up. Like I didn't have to make any phone calls or emails about money or budget I didn't have to think about a budget. I didn't have to design a kit. I didn't have to order bikes. I didn't have to build the bikes. Like all that stuff is just given to you at the beginning of the season. And I mean, I gave my input on some stuff, but like ultimately it wasn't my decision. There was a team manager who ran the team and had been running the team for like 20 plus years, and he had it pretty dialed. And so once I got recruited to that team, it was just a matter of showing up and racing your bikes. And another big con of it, or pro, sorry, big pro, is like the friendships that you have. I don't know if everybody's experience on a team is this way, but like the Texas Roadhouse team when I was on it was like so much fun. Like we'd go to races and we would suck and it was still fun. You know, like we're getting wiped by Legion and Best Buddies and all these big time teams, and we're like hanging on for dear life, and we're stoked if we crack a top 10. And we won one day, like the time of the years that I was on the race, we won a couple regional races and we're pumped about that. But we only won really one big national race, and it was at it was like the a day or two after Athens. So like not Athens, because Athens is massive, but like the day after Athens, there's another crit. I don't even remember what the crit was called, but everybody from Athens still does that race, so it's still a pretty big caliber race, and that was like the only race that we won. But besides that, I mean, like it was just a ton of fun because you're hanging out with guys that you enjoy hanging out with. Want me to go ahead and just give the cons too?
Yeah, might as well.
The cons of being on a team is you kind of have to go. I would say like you don't get to choose, as you don't have as much freedom to do what you want. You know, like I wanted to go do gravel stuff and want to go do big road races, but the team was just kind of a dedicated crit team. So like every year we wanted to go to Joe Martin, but the team budget was like, yeah, we don't have the budget to go do Joe Martin, even though everybody on the team wanted to. So you don't have as much freedom to choose which races you go to. You kind of are at the will of whoever's running the team, or whatever the goals of that team are. Uh, the cons for me, and this isn't always the case, is like I didn't think that um, I didn't think that I was getting paid. I wasn't getting paid, and I thought that I could be getting paid from racing, or could be in a few years, like if I worked towards that. And so that was kind of the biggest con for me, was like I felt like my value, because of all the, mainly because not because I was getting amazing results, but because of all this other content that I was putting out, like podcasts and YouTube videos. Like nobody else on the crit team was doing that extra stuff behind the scenes, and so I felt like that raised my value as an athlete. But push comes to shove, the team kind of only cared about the results and not all that extra stuff I was doing. So I figured, you know, the reason why I switched to doing more privateer stuff was because I felt like the value that I could get from the other stuff besides just bike results could potentially bring in a little bit more money from sponsors. So, yeah. And then another con is like whatever budget there is on a team, you kind of have to think like there's 10, you know, we had like 10 solid dudes on Roadhouse. So you have to have a pretty big budget for 10 guys, you know. You don't have to get as big of a budget when it's just one or two people. So that makes it a bit easier to get a workable budget versus trying to support 10 riders. Um, yeah. And then you probably have way more experience on the privateer side, so you can speak to that.
Yeah, I guess the biggest pro, and it's a con. Well, I feel like all the pros and cons you listed, you could almost reverse them for privateer.
Right.
Like, you know, I think the biggest thing of being a privateer, and the biggest pro and the biggest con, is you're essentially your own manager. So unless you have an agent, you're the one finding your own sponsors, which is a huge plus. Like, you're not stuck riding your team's tires. Like, you can go find your own tire brand to work with, or just have no tire sponsor. And same with kit. Like, you get to go and kind of try to get the best partners that you think exist out there. So like, I've really enjoyed that, and I've worked really hard to try to partner with brands like Lauf and Continental and head over the past few years and Avis. So that's been super fun. One of the biggest cons for being a privateer, especially when I was first starting out, is it can be pretty hard or lonely at times. So I would recommend like finding other friends to travel with. I mean, I think that's pretty much why Drew and I teamed up, was, you know, not only to make a fun team, but so we're all going to the same races together. Might as well stay together, help each other out, like split an Airbnb. So that saves a lot of money. I'm trying to think of other pros. Like, yeah, you get to make your own schedule. So, obviously sometimes a brand will want you to go to a specific race, but for the most part, you're choosing your own schedule. You don't have to travel to Leadville if you don't want to do that race, where some teams might. You're also handling your own budget. So I've been on bike teams before that they run out of budget halfway through the year. So, it's overpromise, underdelivered, where when you're putting together your own privateer program, you know exactly how much your money or support you're going to have. So you can plan that out throughout the whole season. I think, that kind of covers the sharp parts of it.
Yeah.
So this is one I always like to talk about and this is, I think, really important, especially for junior and U23 riders. Like, if there's anything I always tell kids that I coach, it's where to take your first steps to becoming a privateer. And my suggestion is always starting small and starting local. So I put the picture of me with my Pizza Ranch skin suit, which was my first privateer program. So I worked at Pizza Ranch, so it wasn't like I had to go talk to corporate, but I just asked my boss if he would want to support my bike racing, and he said yeah, and he cut me a $500 check, which, just for racing the local stuff, that actually covered a lot. It's not nowadays that covers a tank of gas and on-bound registration, but it covered a lot of my gravel season. And then I also used my network or other businesses that I knew. So on there's my massage therapist sponsored me, Cyclocarbon, so I had free carbon repairs. And then the one where I cold called essentially was, you can't really see it, but Blue Egg Bakery was just a random business I reached out to, and I asked for $50 and free donuts whenever I stopped in, and they said yeah. And this is where
A donut sponsorship would be life changing, and maybe not for the better.
You also can't see it, but on the sides it says Quick Trip, and that's because Quick Trip at the time did sponsor me with a gas gift card.
Nice.
But the moral of this story is use your contacts that you know, and especially when you're younger, if you're a junior or U23, companies are way more willing to support young people. If me or Drew, who are in our 30s, went and asked a local business now, hey, want to sponsor us? And if they don't know us or know anything about biking, they're just going to tell us to get lost and get a job. So I think,
unless we have some kind of very clear return on investment that we can show them. If it's just for, out of the kindness of their hearts, then yeah, they're probably not going to give a rip.
So, and these were all mostly financial sponsors or service sponsors.
Yeah.
Also, the local bike shop sponsored me with discounts. And that's where I get into, you know, there's, I think most brands get hundreds of emails a week asking for sponsorship, bike brands, I should say. But when you go to the local companies, they're not getting bugged by hundreds of bikers for a sponsorship. They're not getting bugged by most people for a sponsorship. So they're more likely to say yes and work with you and support you instead of if you're trying to get sponsored by, say, Specialized. There's thousands and thousands of people trying for that sponsorship. So that piece of cake is like much harder, or it's harder to get a piece of that cake where a local company, is willing to share.
Yeah.
So
Also, like, if you've ever been on a team before, I mean, like, the director of Texas Roadhouse was always trying to help me find sponsors. Like he had connections to all kinds of local car dealers and physical therapy places or whatever. And it seemed like he was always, every time I talked to him, he was like, "Oh, is there anything I can do to help you get connected to some kind of sponsor, or this brand or whatever?" And so, like, yeah, I think utilizing the people that that are already in the sport who have some influence or have some connections, like, that'll go. All it takes is like one person getting you connected to the right brand that likes what you're doing for it to like totally change your entire budget and sponsorship and even like career. I mean, like look, Chase was that guy for me. Like, I didn't have a connection to Lauf, but me and Chase, I was gonna say hooked up, but maybe that wouldn't be the right language. Me and Chase got connected last summer and started hanging out, and we just like hit it off real quick, like became real close friends real quick. And so then we were like, we liked traveling to races together. We tried it out at a couple races like Core 4 and Gravel Nats. I think we were like, we kind of tested the waters to see like, do we actually like hanging out, or is it just like the honeymoon phase? And we did. So we we decided to do a team, and Chase got me connected to Lauf, and now Lauf is the biggest sponsor I've ever had. So that wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for like me and Chase getting connected last summer. And that's how it's been. Like, I think of like putting your I just the thing that I would give, the biggest piece of advice I would give to younger people looking to build a privateer program is like, go, like, put yourself in positions where there's opportunity. Like, if you don't ever go to races and you're never around brands and you never walk around the expo at the big races, like, you're never gonna randomly meet a potential sponsor. Like, just walking around the expo and chatting with people or talking to other racers or whatever, like, putting yourself out there like that is how you meet new people, and that's how you get connected, and that's how you get sponsors. Like, dropping a cold email to brands like that rarely works. But what is going to work is like if you walk around the expo and actually try and actually talk to the people in the booth. Like, the whole reason me and Chase are sponsored by Abus is because 2 years at Unbound, I mean, I could take credit for this, but I wouldn't have done this if my buddy JP had not Chase's friend JP. I have another friend named JP. My friend JP like forced me to go to the expo, and he walked around with me, and we walked up to the Abus booth trying to get a sponsorship, and the Abus guy knew who I was and liked what I was doing with the YouTube videos, and immediately was like, "Yeah, we want to like work with you." And now me and Chase have been working with Abus for the last 2 years. So, uh, like doing that kind of thing in person is going to go way further than just a random email that they can ignore. So, putting yourself in those positions of opportunity is huge, I think.
We're about like halfway through the slideshow, so I put a spot for questions on starting out. So I'm just gonna rip through some of the questions. Nico N or Nikon said, I'm now ending my second junior year, having done 6 hours a week, no real races. How many hours were you doing as a junior? How old were you when you started cycling? Like, a lot. For me, as a junior, I was doing anything between 0 to 10 hours. I was very inconsistent. So my advice would just be consistent with your 6 hours if that's all you can do. Um, I didn't really start biking a lot till after college because college kind of ate up a lot of my time. I guess a lot is different for everyone. I biked up to 10 to 12 hours when I was in college. Uh, yeah, then I got a full-time job and I could start doing 20-hour weeks. But for me, I started racing when I was 15 and I didn't get paid for bike racing until I was 26, so like, or 25. So, you know, I I think I'm one of the few people who hasn't stood on like a national championship podium in the gravel
You
scene,
were
but
darn close this year,
yeah,
man.
I know.
Ugh.
I thought it was 5D, but the moral of the story is like stay consistent with your training and just like grind it out. Like, I mean, I look at who I raced when I was 17 and 18. 90% of those people don't race anymore, and like the other 10 are in the world tour now. So, yeah.
Yeah, when I was in college and when I was a junior, like weekly hours wasn't even a thing on my mind. Like I just trained what I knew that my body could handle. And of course, I was focused on cyclocross, so I didn't have to be focused on volume. I was a lot more focused on the intensity. So like, even all throughout college, up until I was like 22 years old, I don't know if I had, I mean, rarely did I do over 20 hours a week. I think I was doing 12 hours a week throughout the cross season, and then maybe a little bit more during the road season for collegiate. But like now that volume, at least in the last 5 years in my head, has like completely changed. Like now, volume is maybe the most important thing that I think about when I plan out my own training, and I do try to hit as big a volume as I can. Uh, but I mean, I wasn't doing, 20-hour weeks until like literally in the last 5 years, and I'm 31. So like, I didn't really start doing that, big volume until like my later 20s. So I would say my biggest piece of advice for young people trying to train a lot is like don't overtrain. Like if you've got too like motivation is great, but if you've got too much motivation, like if you've got more motivation to train than your body can handle, then that's going to be in the grand scheme of things like net negative because you're going to end up in the tank. So don't ramp up the volume too much. Like if you're doing 6 hours a week now, don't go out and try to do 12 hours next week. Like don't try to double your volume in one week. Like I would say just slowly but surely build up that volume, like go from 6 to 7 and then 7 to 8 and then 8 to 9 and see how your body handles that as you increase it like hour by hour. And then don't neglect your recovery weeks. Like after every 3 weeks of hard training, you should have a recovery week like pretty consistently. So my biggest warning would be to make sure you don't overtrain and make sure you take serious the recovery.
Next question. We'll try to keep the answers
Sure.
short-ish
Yeah.
till the very end. How can I practice race tactics when most races feel go as hard as you can? My two tips with this is one, I've always, I tell this to people who have never done a race. Go to like NorCal cycling on YouTube or find a YouTuber who will kind of give a voiceover on their videos. They're going to talk about their racing and their mistakes they make in that racing and some things that go well. And I think that's a good way to learn. You could also you could put a GoPro on your bike. So, you know,
Mm.
it, if this is, I guess if this is gravel racing, that's a little different, I guess, than road. Because honestly, the tactics in gravel racing are currently kind of go as hard as you can. But I would say if you know who some of like the faster people are that you're trying to compete against, just try keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on kind of the marked riders in your race if you know who they are. Um, and, don't try to do anything like dumb, I guess, like going off the front. I guess I'm giving myself advice at this point. But yeah, if you're road racing or crit racing, go like watch NorCal. That stuff also carries over to gravel racing in some races. And then honestly, some of the tactics in gravel can just be like, just pace yourself. Like, some people who are trying to follow that front move, they may just blow up. So that's kind of my quick answer.
Yeah, my first response, like quick answer, would be try doing crits in cyclocross because like when you're a junior, you could probably double up. And so like when I was a junior, I could race, twice in one day. I could do two cross races or two crits because I could do the junior race and then I could also do the cat whatever race, like cat threes, whatever. And this kind of answers somebody else's question who had said one of their questions was like, how when because this is sorry, the same question, my bad, where he said that it's like an all-out race. Well, in gravel it's like an all-out race because there's no categories, but in road and cyclocross there are categories, and so you should be racing in a category where everybody else is of the same ability level as you, so you shouldn't it shouldn't be just a full gas time trial for the whole race. Like in a race like a crit where you're racing the category that you belong in based off of your fitness level, it should be hard, but you should be able to get some good practice with tactics as you get better and better with that. And you'll get more reps because, you're only going to do so many big gravel races throughout the year. You could do a lot of crits throughout the year. And usually crits are like, there's 2 or 3 of them over the course of a weekend. Like if you go to Toad, you could race like 10 days straight and get a ton of like real quick learning about tactics, kind of in a condensed period. So, for those reasons, I think cyclocross and crits are really good because you can learn the tactics out of it way quicker. And they're only an hour long or shorter, so it's not as physically demanding.
Okay, there's a few more questions, but I do want to get through the whole slideshow. So
Yeah.
I'm going to save the rest till the end. And you can keep dropping questions into the chat.
Somebody asked how long is this thing going? I don't know. What?
I said 30 to 60 minutes.
Oh,
It may go longer than that, but
probably.
they can turn it off after 60. Okay.
And yes, it will be recorded. Have it recorded. We're going to start doing, me and Chase are going to start doing a podcast to kind of follow along the Lunchbox team now that we've started a Devo team. And so we figured because I already do podcasts and have that side of it sorted out, it'd be easy for me and him to do a podcast and kind of share those stories on this platform. We don't know what it's going to be called, but this is the first episode.
Okay, types of sponsors. I'll keep this one quick. Endemic is those bike-related companies. These are the companies that they're going to have tens, hundreds, or thousands of people reaching out to them for sponsorship. There's different tiers of sponsorship usually coming from endemic sponsors. There's like the pro deal, so 40, 50, 60% off type of thing. There's the free product, and then there's product plus financial help from those sponsors. Non-endemic, this is outside of biking. This can be anything from a gas station to your local bakery, the construction site. We have a Devo rider getting sponsored by like a family friend who works at a PT or a physical therapy place. These are the places that I think are really good for junior and U23 riders to go to and try to get sponsorship from. Types of sponsorship, you got product, and this can be discounted or given to you. Bikes, parts, kit, helmet, whatever. Services, and I think all of these have value. like if you can save money, services, maybe the local shop gives you 50% off on repairs, uh, local physical therapist or massage therapist, giving you discounts or free services they provide. Could be a dentist for all I know. Like, I'm trying to find I had a oral surgeon put in a tooth for no charge. So like, he's on my kit next year.
Nice.
And then there's financial help. This is money. So, and know when you go to a sponsor, kind of know what you're going to be asking for. Don't.
I'll say something real quick about this is like product is of the three types of sponsorship, product's probably the easiest thing. Product and services, you can kind of lump those together, but it's way easier to get that from a brand or a company than raw cash, like hard money. Because obviously like product to them costs less than what you think it is. Like if the market value of a bike or if the price of a bike is 10K, well, it only costs them 4K, so they can write it off as 10K, but they're really only giving you like 4K's worth of product or whatever, so it's way easier for a company to give you product than to give you just straight cash. And getting cash is hard. And so the biggest thing that can help you get cash, at least this is what I have found out, is when you can give them hard deliverables. Like, here is what I will give you if you give me money. And the biggest thing for me, or the two biggest things for me, was like views. So you can go to a brand and say, I get this many views on YouTube, I get this many downloads on my podcasts. So that gets them marketing. Like they could write that off as marketing because they know that if they sponsor you, people are going to hear about their company. If you don't have a voice, or if nobody ever sees your posts or hears you or watches your videos, then like their brand isn't going to get known. So that's a big thing. And then also just straight up, like, I've sold this many amount of bikes. And I really found success with this 2 years ago when I was sponsored by State Bikes, because that was the first time that I'd ever experimented with an affiliate code. So that whole year, I plugged that code like crazy. And by the end of the year, I had sold $30,000 worth of bikes just through YouTube and Instagram and podcasts from just plugging in that code all year. And so then I could use that metric and then go to other brands and say, hey, last year I sold $30,000 through this affiliate link that I had. Would you be willing to sponsor me? And that just shows them, like, if they sponsor me, they're gonna have a return on investment. So trying to like get that history that you can show, that data that you can show to brands, definitely helps a ton.
What do sponsors look for? Okay, so I think a lot of people who are younger think results are the only thing that matters. I won my local NICA race, so I deserve a sponsorship. Drew and I neither of us have won a big gravel event ever, but we're different than, I think, a lot of different racers. So our biggest thing is make sure the brands that you're reaching out to know why you're different. So for Drew, he's a podcast. Okay, I'll just talk about myself. So for me, like, I'm not only a bike racer. I have gravel events I put on. I coach. I try to make funny content. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I proclaim myself as like an aero dork and a marginal gains enthusiast, and a gravel dad. So I really play into those and try to set myself apart from just being the bike racer. I'm also those things. So
yeah.
And yeah, that's my niche. Like, I can go to a brand and I can't say, hey, I've won, you know, Onbound or whatever, but I can go to them and be like, hey, I made this, I've made, you know, 5 Instagram reels that have gotten over 100,000 views each. Like, that's just as valuable sometimes as winning a regional bike race or,
Yeah,
yeah.
you've never won Unbound, but everybody knows your Unbound bike. Like everybody's seen it. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that speaks like tons for a brand like Lao for Head with that disc wheel. Like that's huge for them. And so it's almost bigger for them than if you had won the race. Obviously both would have been great, but like uh, you know, what was it, like 40th place at Unbound isn't anything to write home about, but getting, you know, 250,000 people to see your bike through all the different avenues is a pretty big deal.
And then this is from my Continental rep, and she's said I could share this. So, how Continental assesses an athlete is they look for two of these three things, and if you have all three, that's like even better. So the race performance, the bike racer, the digital side of you, so social media engagement. Um, they're not looking at they're looking at how much you post, what is the engagement, um, you know, do people find it funny, valuable? I guess valuable is like the most important thing. And then your community engagement. So I always try to make it a priority when I go to a bike race. I am going there and I'm talking before the bike race. I'm going around the expo, talking with brands, talking with people, just connecting. And then afterwards, I'm hanging out, talking with riders. You know, you can hang out at some races. There's a DFL party, hang out, do that. If there's food, like try to make a new friend. So you could also volunteer. Like those things don't go unnoticed by brands.
There's a question in the chat that's related to this topic of he says, at what point do you sacrifice being a racer for promoting a brand's community outreach? And you could just say it like even broader, like at what point do you sacrifice being a creator over a bike racer? I mean, I can talk to this. Like I actually just put out a video a couple days ago on like content creation for privateer. So we've already been talking about this a bunch the last few weeks with me and Chase. So I went ahead and put out a YouTube video about it as well. And one of the things that I said in that video is that I am always a bike racer first and a content creator second. I'm not going to travel across the country and across the world to go to these bike races to like shake hands and sign autographs. Like I'm gonna do that, but I'm there to get like to focus on the race. And I've positioned myself with the kind of content that I create that allows me to focus on the racing. So the types of videos that I make on YouTube don't require me to carry a camera around with me. I don't have to do a bunch of interviews. I don't have to do all this B-reel where I'm like talking to the camera all the time. Like I don't do any of that. I just have a camera on my bike, and when the race starts, I start the camera, and then throughout the race, I clip. I've got my camera because these gravel races are so long. I'll do a 5-minute timer, and so I can just reach down and press the button on my GoPro. Whenever I think something exciting is about to happen, it'll record for 5 minutes, and then it'll turn off, and I'll get, an hour and anywhere from 1 to 3 hours worth of video footage, and then I'll edit that into a YouTube video. But that whole process does not mean I am doing anything at some point to sacrifice my race. I'm still totally focused on the race. And now it's become so natural to me that I'm able to do that and still be 100% focused on the race. And there are times where there was one race where I literally, my camera fell off my bike with my Garmin. I didn't realize it. I think I might have stopped and got the camera had I realized that's what fell off my bike. I thought I lost a bottle or something. Um, it didn't connect with me that that was my GoPro that had just fallen off my bike. And I was literally like in the moment getting dropped from first and second place in the race. And we were only 5 miles from the finish, or like less than 10 miles from the finish. So, like, I still thought there was still a chance that maybe I could catch back up to the first and second place people in the race. And so I was like, I'm not. I'm not going to stop for whatever I just dropped because there's still a chance that I could win this race. Um, yeah, so I think like I'm like really proud of the way that I do my content because I don't have to sacrifice my racing. But as far as like, I mean, Chase could probably talk about how much we do at the expos and stuff to, before the race.
Yeah, I think I've screwed this up actually. Like even this year on bound,
Yeah.
I put promote. I underestimated how much energy it takes to be at the expo for hours and just interacting with people. Like I'm pretty introverted, so I don't have a huge social battery, and I was drained even before the race started on Saturday. So making sure, you know, you're gonna have deliverables you have to reach with all of your sponsors, and that could be expo time, whatever. But make sure you're scheduling that stuff. Like the more planning ahead you can do, the better. So, like next year going into Onbound, I'll make sure all of my stuff is scheduled early in the morning so that way I can be back at the Airbnb by noon or whatever to just decompress and like focus on the race. Where this year I think we were at the expo till 3 or 4 p.m. and then we had to like make bottles, do supper. So I, you know, I think if you shouldn't have to make a sacrifice between being a racer and promoting brands if you're able to plan ahead in time. And if a brand's making you like overreach, like have a discussion with them on like,
Yeah.
hey, can we change this? You know,
Yeah.
communication is gonna help instead of just being like, you know, being mad at them afterwards, even though you like never talk to them about them just overreaching on like your time.
Yeah. I mean, they sponsor you knowing you're a bike racer. So if you just say to them, hey, like, this conflicts with my like with my goals as a bike racer. Is there any way we could change it? Don't just like cancel it, but change it to where it works better so that you can fulfill what they want and still focus on the bike racing. So like if that means doing the expo earlier in the day so that you can be off your feet for the second half of the day and rest before the race the next day, like that's what me and Chase will do is like knock out that stuff as early as possible so that we're not, cramming to do it before the race.
Um, okay, so after you get sponsors, here are just some quick tips on how to keep them. Right, biggest thing is like making sure that you are interacting with this company or the sponsor throughout the whole year. Don't just get something and then ghost them. Like that's the best way to not have them support you ever again. So race recap emails, something that they can use like for a post or a collab post. You could make it specific for them. Be like, I had a great race at Onbound. The Continental Dubnital tires were great. They saved me, a whole bunch of energy through the corners because I wasn't sliding out and I didn't get any flats. Uh, you know, Hopefully I can finish better next year. So just making quick, not that quick. I would make longer than what I just said, but like doing little race recap emails. And you don't have to do it for every single race. If you're racing 20 times a year, but like, make sure they're getting a race recap once every other month, I would say. And then for sure, meet your minimum requirements in your contract. I always try to go above and beyond if you can. Hanging out at their booth in the expo. So I always, every single race, I'm going around the expo talking with all my sponsors. Some of them we have pre-planned meetups and like meet and greets. So hanging out there and then sending them media to use. So I think a lot of people underestimate how much like race photos cost, or even just photos in general, to like have a photographer come out and get pictures cost. So like if you have a camera or even a phone that's decent, like if you can get some pictures of all of your brands, like especially at a big race, and send them over to your sponsors, like that's really valuable to them, because then they didn't have to hire a photographer and pay them. It's like you're the one providing them value. So
Yeah, I think like going above and beyond is like awesome. Like if they didn't ask you to get photos for their website, but then you just randomly in the middle of the season say like, "Ah, hey, like me and Chase grabbed all these photos for you to use. Like it looked like, like maybe you could use these on your website or whatever for social media. Like here you go." Obviously, like make sure you've got the proper rights to those photos. Like if you have to pay somebody for the photos or whatever, make sure you do that so you don't get in trouble. But brands would like love that. They're like, oh man, I didn't even ask for this, and these guys are doing this. And then also, I think the biggest thing for me personally with all of the sponsors I've ever had is like when I meet the people at the company, for some reason something just clicks in my brain, and I'm so much more willing to promote a brand once I have met the people and know the people who are behind that brand. So like Lauf has been so easy. Like Lauf has been easy to promote since I've been sponsored, but after I met like Donna and like all the people who work at Lauf when I was at the Rift in July, like now it's so easy to promote this brand because the people there are so awesome, and like and they were so helpful and like so nice to me when I was there in Iceland. So like, and I think that's the case with every sponsor I've ever had. Like when I meet the people who are the ones actually sponsoring me, like there's some kind of, because I've met them face to face and there's a relationship there, I feel a lot more accountable for promoting that brand as best as I can, because I know I'm going to see Greg from Mavis at the next race because he's always at the booth, or I know that I'm going to see Sophia from Good Life at the next race. And so like I want to be doing a good job, but also like these people are at the events supporting me and saying hi and talking to me, and there's a relationship there, and it's just way more natural to promote a brand when there's a relationship with that brand. So I'd say trying to like make that relationship happen from the beginning. Like maybe you do get sponsored and you don't know the people there. I would go out of my way to try to get to know those people as best as you can.
Okay, questions. So drop any questions in the chat. I'm gonna go back up.
That's the end of it. No more slides.
Yeah, no more slides. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think we hit most of it. I mean, I did a whole video on this topic a couple of days ago, and the main points from the video that I had said was kind of all generated around creating content, because like I said earlier, like being able to go to a brand and say, I get this many views or I get this many downloads is like gold, like, and having those stats on like a printout or on your phone or on a deck, on a sponsor deck that you can send to somebody over email that says, I got 500,000 views this year on my YouTube channel. Like find the biggest number you can and put it on there. Like that stuff, like brands notice, like that's the kind of stuff that brands are looking for in athletes. And so the sooner that you can get into that, the better. And the advice that I have about creating content was just make it easy. So like don't like try to be like this massively professional YouTube with all the editing and the like you'll get better at that stuff, but like don't think that your first video has to be perfect because it's not. Like if you go back to my first videos on YouTube, they were trash. If you go back to the beginning of Dylan Johnson's YouTube channel, they were trash. But like we at least had a goal and we started, and then once you start the process, those skills get better and better. Like go vegan cyclist, like his editing has gotten better and better over the years. Like you have to start somewhere, and obviously you're going to start in kindergarten and you're going to grow up like and go through the grades. And now my editing, like I'm 5 years into this and my editing now is way better than it was. And so, and people have let me know that through the years. So I'd say just like start, press record, do something, and then as you start that process, you're going to grow the skills. Don't make it too hard. Like make it as easy as possible. Like at least something that you can sustain over the season. And then also like trying to find your style, like your unique style of like whether that's in race footage or training related or whatever. Like just try to do something that sets you apart from the other people and like shows your personality. Because ultimately, if people can get to know you as a character or as a brand, like or as a person, and once they get to know you and they like you, then that's when they are going to start watching like all your content because like now they don't just watch you because you put out a funny video. Now they watch you because they like you. So that's going to be, I don't know, just for long-term views, that's going to be really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the right word is like there's a parable out there that there was a pottery class and this is about, just put stuff out there. The parable is there was a pottery class, two classes. One, the teacher had them make as many pots as possible by the end of the year, and the other class, they just had to make one perfect pot. And the class that made as many pots as possible, their last pot was better than the class where they only put out one perfect pot. So
For the same thing, but photography.
yeah.
Yeah, same exact thing, but a photography class.
Okay, and then there's questions in here on training.
I think we do another one for training.
Yeah,
Let's save that. Let's
this
save
is
the training related ones for a different
this will
episode.
be more for ideally this is for the U23 and junior riders. So like I'm sorry, peddling preacher who's 43. What advice can you give me? You just started racing. Find a club.
Listen to the Matchbox.
Listen to the Matchbox.
Somebody else asked about the Matchbox, where they can find it. It's on Spotify, and all the other listening platforms. But if you're looking for it on YouTube, it's going to be back on YouTube on the Ignition Coach Co channel starting sometime at the beginning of 2026. We're about to hire an editor for the Matchbox for YouTube. So if that's where you normally watched it, it'll be on the Ignition page here in a few weeks.
This person says, Chloe Lamb, I am moving from a junior to U23 category and I'm mostly competing with athletes on elite development teams. Should I be aiming to join those teams, or is it valuable to work on my privateer career? If you are a road racer or a like crit racer, I would suggest probably joining a team just because teamwork matters more in that. But if you're a gravel racer, I think it kind of depends on what your future goals are. So at a young age, sometimes joining those teams like Bear Devo would be a big example. Like a lot of those kids have that partnership with Trek then, and then they're able to sign with Trek and do their own privateer program like Daxton or Kobe this year. But I think long term, I think just working on your own privateer program is probably more valuable. I think to start, it may be more of a struggle, but I think further down the road, you're going to be really happy you started your own privateer program. And, you know, I quit or stopped racing for Mazda Lauf and started my own privateer program. And when I did that, I was a couple years ahead of the other riders who stayed with the team. So I was able to, I've had these partnerships longer than some of the other riders who stopped riding for that team and, yeah, started their own programs.
I think I am gonna softly disagree just because of how young she says she is. She's going from junior to U23. I think that joining a really good U23 team could maybe help you learn a lot about racing and like how to connect with brands and sponsors. Like that team, like maybe like just keep like maybe just really get to know the team director and ask them as many questions as you can about sponsorship because the team director is going to be I'm assuming probably the one that's handling a lot of the sponsorship stuff. So like almost think of it as like a mentorship of like you're going to go into that as a racer for a team, but you're also going to be like learning the skills for like how you could eventually launch into privateer. But I think the biggest benefit, especially mainly because of how young she is, going from junior to U23 category, would be like learning how to race. Like doing that with a team, I think is going to have a lot more benefit than trying to compete against those teams or against the elite riders by yourself. Um, and just thinking about like longevity in the sport, you might go further in the sport if you're on a team than if you're just constantly by yourself.
Uh, do you think paying a local coach or something like Trainer Road, that one can be for
The training one.
Matchbox?
There was one in here that said that he knows. It's further down, but he said he's in a position where he knows the owner of a big company that is involved in the cycling community. So that's like a big check mark. Like involved in the community, owner, and a big company. Like three, those are all big good things. So how would you go about asking about sponsorship from that certain company? If you have a personal relationship with the owner and the owner knows who you are, I would reach out to them directly and say, "Hey, I'm looking to start my own team, my own privateer program, and I'm trying to find support for this team. Would you be willing to hop on a phone call, like a Google Meets call or a Zoom call, so that we could chat about this potential partnership, and try to like I don't know. I try to avoid the word sponsorship as much as possible. I try to think of it, I think Chase says this too, try to think of it more of a partnership because when you use that kind of language, you're giving the message of I don't want to just take from you. I want this to be a mutual relationship where you're helping me and I'm helping you. So obviously they're going to help you by giving you money for your racing or product for your racing, and you're going to be helping them by helping promote their company. And obviously, if they're in the cycling community already, they already think that the cycling community is valuable. So if they could sponsor a rider in their community and then have that logo on that jersey and you're a very good representative for them, then the likelihood of them sponsoring you, I think, would be pretty good. But my biggest advice is like if you know somebody at the company or you know somebody else who can put you in touch with somebody, like getting face to face over a Zoom call is going to be way more productive than emailing back and forth. Me and Chase, with all of our sponsors, just set up video calls, and we'll do a 1 hour video call at the end of the season to like figure out how the sponsorship's going to look for the next year. And if we have potential sponsors that we're interested in, it might be like 2 or 3 video calls of like, here's the initial call, here's the initial ask, and then maybe we have another call a few weeks later to like renegotiate. And then maybe we have another call about like, okay, here are the obligations for both of us. Like it might be a couple phone calls, but phone calls are always going to be just so much more productive than an email. They
That's
can
per
like people can ignore an email. If you get on a phone call, it's a lot harder to say no in person. So like getting them in front of you is going to be better.
This person also says they have some pretty big results, but do not have a very big social media presence. When working with this company, like be upfront with that. Be like, hey, I'm working on having a bigger social media presence, and make sure if you do like work with this company, tell them, okay, like set a goal. We're gonna do one social media post a month or a week or whatever you think is feasible for yourself. Um, don't over, uh, don't tell them to, or like, don't oversell yourself and underproduce. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Another
but
question on here. Oh, sorry.
no, just keep working on that social media. Like, also check, if let's say this is a coffee company or something, like chat GPT, like give me 10 funny Instagram reel ideas for biking Instagram reel or like a Instagram reel for my coffee sponsorship that involves me biking. Like, I,
Dude,
yeah,
AI is so good. I've
or
been using it so much for stuff like exactly what you just said, like creative stuff. Yeah, it
yeah,
helps
so
so much.
or it if someone makes like a funny Instagram reel, like kind of give it your own twist. That's what I just did with my last Instagram reel. I saw it and gave it a little twist, and it
Don't like use AI to make the content. Use AI to get the ideas for the content or to help you refine it a little bit. But like you still have to be the face of the content. You still have to put in the work. Like people don't want to see an AI thing or an AI caption. Like don't do an AI caption. Like if you need to get some ideas or, like maybe refine something, fine, but like you and your personality should be the meat of it, and then AI could maybe just be like the final little touches on it, or it might be the spark that gets it started, but the main thing is you. There's another question that says, do you need a certain number of views or subscribers in order to get sponsored? And I think not necessarily, but it seems like 10,000 is kind of like the magic number, especially on Instagram. Like if you can go to a brand and say, I have 10,000 plus followers, that's going to get you on their radar at least. Obviously, if you have 100,000, you're probably guaranteed sponsorship. But 10,000, I think, is kind of like, you know, that's a good conversation starter, is to be able to say I've got 10,000 subscribers or followers or whatever. Like
I,
that definitely helps.
I'm gonna have to disagree on that one because I
Oh,
signed
okay.
most of my sponsors when I had 3 or 4 thousand
Yeah, but then they all say
Instagram
like
followers.
even Conti was like, let's get you to 10K. Let's get you to 10K. Like they were so adamant about you getting to 10K for some reason. Like 10K is just some magic number to sponsors.
I think like one person I think who
You
is
called me a month ago and were like, dude, I'm almost up to 10K. Like you were like excited to get there.
okay. One person I think who does really well, and I don't know how many. I don't think he has like too many followers, but Shane Hutzel,
Mm.
his Instagram handle is the Gravel Dad. He crushes it. Like he has a whole bunch. I think if it's, yeah, 10,000 is good for sponsors like Continental or any of the big brands. But I think for like local businesses, I mean, I don't think too many of the local businesses are going to be worried if you have 10,000 or 1,000. It's just like, as long as they see that you're putting out stuff, content for their company, like they're gonna support you. Or if you're getting results or sending them race emails, like if they see you're like thankful and putting stuff out for them, like I think that's the more important part.
All right, maybe one more question. This one's a good one for you. Chase.
Okay.
It says, when he makes an Instagram reel about a race, how long should the video be to get enough information into the video, but not so long that people get bored watching it? And
This
because
one's
you've
from
made a lot of really good reels, I thought this would be good for you.
Lumen won or has come to the hot dish. So
Oh, nice. So
they're
you know
from
this guy.
Iowa. Yeah, they. So I do this actually a lot with race recaps. So I would say the race recap Instagram reels are pretty hard. So my tips are make a really good first 3 to 5 seconds, and this is with any Instagram reel.
Yeah.
Make
That's with
sure
YouTube as well. The first
that
10 seconds have to be
make sure
really
that
good.
like opening clip is like really good. So I would say like if you know, it could be, this is where ChatGPT comes in handy. Like what's a good prompt, or like what's a good opening sentence for my video. Another thing is put captions on the Instagram reel. This is going to keep people interacting with it. So you can use Instagram. I use CapCut. There's a lot of different softwares out there. This is going to keep people engaged. And then make sure every part of the race that you're talking about is only 1 or 2 sentences long. And I try to keep mine end up being like 60 seconds. But if you can do like 5 to 10 different parts of the race, that's really good. And I wouldn't try to cram too much in. So I've never crammed like a bike check, race recap, and nutrition recap into one Instagram reel. Like if I'm doing a race recap, I'm just focusing on like either a reel on how the race went, a reel on what I did for my nutrition, or a reel on the bike check. Like those can be 3 separate videos. But yeah, I would say like good opening clip, say what race you went, and say like if you won, like say I just did Core 4 and I won, you know, the junior category. Or like, you know, if you open up with something exciting at the start, people are gonna want to know. Or say like if it went bad, like what I learned at the hot dish. So
All right, I think that's it. Wrap it up.
awesome. Thank you everyone for joining. I don't even know how many people actually joined. So
I think we got up to like 60 at one point.
hey, that's 60 people who either fell asleep or found this helpful. So
Yeah, and hopefully more will watch it once we put it out as a podcast too. So,
yeah.
all right, cool. Well, now one more just dropped in. You want to answer it?
Okay, yeah, we can answer this one. If you're trying to get sponsors strictly based on results, what types of results do you need to approach people?
If you ain't first, you're last.
This is going to vary on different levels. So if you're looking, I would say it kind of goes by levels of how big they are. So if you're trying to get a big sponsor and not just like, if you're trying to get like, I'll just use Specialized again. You're going to have to get really, really big results or they're not going to care about like winning
Yeah.
onbound. And not just like I've heard stories from brand managers where they get an email from someone who won their, you know, age group 50 to 60 and they're looking for free stuff. Like the sponsorship level is going to be based on what results you're getting. I don't know, like how it's like if you're winning local stuff like this. I guess I had a sponsorship with Wolf Tooth and Otso, and I was winning local fat bike races, so I went to the local like bike company that sold fat bikes. So that's like how I would do it is if you're dominating the local stuff, find some local businesses that would care about the results.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that me and Chase are always talk about are like or like brands that are like oversaturated. Like oh, is it worth reaching out to uh is it worth reaching out to this brand when they already sponsor this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy? And it's like, well, maybe we could pivot and go to this brand because they don't sponsor as many riders. So like we could it's more likely that we would be able to start a relationship with that brand than a bigger brand. So yeah, I think that's always helpful too.
Uh, okay, they added like, for example, if you are winning Leadville age group 20 to 29, could you get decent sponsors? I would say just like honestly, no. Like, I think they're like any big company's only gonna care about national. Like if you're only going
Mm,
based off of results and nothing else, they're
yeah.
only gonna like
But that's why like what me and Chase have going for us is so good. Like our results are mediocre, but we back up our mediocre results with decent content. So like if all you have is results, you really have to have good results to get good sponsorship. And even the people who have really good results, like Alexi Vermeulen and Russell Finsterwald and Kerry Warner, like even those guys who are on national podiums, have been on pro teams, even those guys are doing a lot of content creation because they realize how much it raises their value. And somebody like Alexi could get sponsors just from his results, but he realizes the value in the content side of it. So he's not just relying on his results, he's doing the content. Like Keegan is probably the one example of somebody who's all in on results and he gets big sponsorship from it. And even he does content. Like he's not totally like off of Instagram and YouTube. Like he does a bunch of Instagram stuff, and now he does the post race cool down with Alexi on YouTube. So like even the top guys who don't need content are doing content
the
to back up their results.
the good thing is if you're getting good results,
Yeah.
the content is like
Well, you've already checked one of the boxes, right?
yeah,
Like
you've already checked one of the boxes. Like I don't know if I'll like I dream of someday being able to check the race
big
performance
race, yeah.
box for Continental, but like I like get like a half a mark.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good way of putting it. I was gonna say like we don't not have good race performance. We just
Yeah.
don't have Keegan level race performance. Like
Hmm.
we can't go to brands just off of our results.
Yeah. So like in my opinion, like just start working on that the social
Yeah.
media side and find your niche. Like
Yeah.
it, your niche could be the age group 20 to 29 champ. Like you could just play into that niche. Like
Yeah.
do a quick little recap on how you won Leadville, how you fueled it. Um, yeah. Like people, I know Leadville gets lots of quick clicks. I made an Instagram reel about Leadville, and I wasn't even there,
You
and I
didn't
got
even go.
100,000 views.
Have you ever done Leadville?
Nope.
No, yeah, me neither.
Okay, wait. I want to answer this question. Do you guys think you have a chance to be selected as a wild card for the Lifetime Grand Prix? What about DJ?
Who's
I don't
DJ?
think any of us really have a shot.
Not even DJ?
No.
Yeah.
I think I know other
Competition's way too
faster
thick.
people.
At Sea Otter, I mean the two races are Sea Otter and Unbound,
I
and
guess he does get it unbound.
those races have such big names and competition levels that it's like insane how how big it is.
Uh, okay, sorry, I want to keep answering questions.
That's fine.
How did we get connected to Good Life Nutrition in Lincoln,
Oh, the
Nebraska?
gravel beef,
We
right?
started Gravel Beef. If you
Yeah.
go watch the Stable Cycling podcast with me last year, I tell Drew that we need to get a beef sponsor for our Gravel Beef. And
Like
then
like we have gravel beef, like crit beef or whatever gravel beef.
and
So we
then
we made up some fake beef, but
yeah.
like promoted it on social media. We took some like funny pictures and we raced against each other a couple times head to head, and 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 somehow that opened the door to getting a beef sponsorship. Because Good Life has a nutrition line, but they have a bigger beef line of product.
Sweet. Okay, I think that's it now. Dude, your JP hopped into the
I know I
chat.
saw that. He said, my JP said that another good idea is doing short format video FAQs for your sponsors. And uh, JP, I didn't do that for any of my sponsors, but I did take that advice and use it for Ignition, which is like my brand or my company. And now we have a bunch of short videos on our website that have like short video FAQs that me and Dylan did. So thanks for that advice. I utilized it, just not with my sponsors yet. That should be something that me and you do, though.
Yeah.
That'd be easy.
Sweet. Okay.
All right. Bedtime.